Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? I will just wait for everyone to get here. We are doing the discussion about Notes on an Execution. So, if you have not read it and you are wanting to read it and you're on this video, then maybe best to click off until after you've read it. Um, so, yeah, hello, everyone. I currently have sinusitis, so I'm feeling really crappy. So I apologise if I end up on little tangents and things while we're going through this discussion. Hello, 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 hello. How are we all doing today? Has everyone had a nice week? Thank you. I am on antibiotics. I think I'm on like the 4th day of antibiotics or something, so I am actually feeling a little bit better. It's just I've had a headache for like over a week and it's been horrible. It's not been very pleasant. Not a fan of that. Feel better soon. Can't decide if I'm getting a headache or not. Oh, I hate that when you're kind of like your head's starting to be sore and you're like, is this going to turn into like a really bad headache or is this just going to pass if I drink a little bit of water? They're like the most annoying kind of headaches. It's been already ready for some time off over Christmas for sure. Is everybody off in between Christmas and New Year? I'm actually off this year for the first time in like many years because I worked in the bar trade for a really long time. So obviously Christmas and New Year was not a time that you could have off. So I'm quite excited to have that time off this year. Steph, are you gonna be on placement possibly over Christmas and New Year? Because I'd imagine in the job that you're in, you're not going to be able to do that. Hello, welcome. We are doing a book discussion of Notes on an Execution, so just be prepared that we're going to be talking about books and we're going to be talking about spoilers. Yep, that's the start. I think it's stress related. I finished uni on the 21st of December for 2 weeks. So you don't have any placement or anything when you're off. My brain is just not working. I'm also covered in my own hair. That's really bizarre. I'm quite interested for this book discussion because I saw what Steph rated it and it's very different to what I rated it. So let's just start with what everybody rated the book. Because I feel like it's gonna be very different thoughts and opinions I feel on this one, which is good. I'm glad that we've got one that we're a bit mixed. Nope, thankfully not out again until March, April. Okay, that's cool. So that's good that you get some time to recharge as well. Because December's such a busy month, so it's really good when you get that time to just chill afterwards. Yeah, I know, I feel like we read different books. I gave it 2 stars. Yeah, I saw that come up on Goodreads and I was like, what? Did we read a different book? I totally thought the same thing. I was just like, no way, because every book that we've kind of read together so far, we've all read it together and we've all had very similar opinions on it, but I feel like this one's really mixed. You rated it 2 stars as well, and it was such a struggle to get through. Maybe I read a totally different book than you guys did. Well, let me know what your thoughts were. So mine was all, I rated it 5 stars, so like that's obviously quite a high rating, but you guys have rated it 2. So what is it that you didn't like about the book that kind of made you decide to rate it 2 stars? I'll just say what I thought of this. I still have a Waterstone sticker on it, never mind. I really liked it. I liked the whole idea of it, with it being on like someone on death row and finding out a lot about like their history and sort of their background and how they came to be and how they became the person that they did and the reason why they were obviously in jail. Same. Oh, I think you must have. I really didn't enjoy the sex parts and just never got into it. Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't like the flowery writing or a lot of the philosophy in it. See, I really enjoyed the philosophy sort of side of it. I think, like, I didn't read it physically, and I've just noticed how tiny this writing is in the book. I read it on my Kindle, but I don't know. Now looking at the book, I think I would have struggled to read it because the writing's so tiny. But on my Kindle, obviously, that isn't the case at all. But I just really liked finding out about like the main character's mum. I can't even remember what his name is. I've been reading the Wayward Pines series by Blake Crouch, and I've like binged. I'm on the third one now. I've binged them all this week. So like my brain is kind of like all in Wayward Pines land. So I'm kind of forgot what I'm going to be talking about because I've kind of read like 3 books since this one. Even though I only finished this one, I'm pretty sure it was like at the beginning of the week. Ansel Packer. Yeah, I really liked the bits about his mum and like his upbringing and things, and it kind of coming around to finding out why he became what he became and the awful things that he obviously did because he was a serial killer, so he obviously wasn't a good human, and was on death row for obvious reasons. I just I don't know. I felt like I really enjoyed the character development in it, and I quite liked a flowery kind of style of writing, which is bizarre because usually I wouldn't, but I just felt like something just really spoke to me in this book, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's because my brain's just not working or what, but I just really liked it. You can tell that my brain is not with it. I listened to it on Audible. Okay. I was intrigued at the beginning with mum's story and such, but soon I just lost interest and stopped caring. That's fair. I mean, what happened to his mum and that whole relationship, and like obviously when they were younger, that was that was that was quite a hard upbringing, and I think what they were trying to do was obviously show you that from such a hard upbringing is why he led to become like a serial killer. But I also really liked the parts when he was in foster care and you kind of got to know the characters there. But I felt a bit like the reason for his killings weren't like great reasons. Like they weren't kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It just didn't feel like there was a strong, solid reason for it that he would have behaved in that way. That was one part of the book that I didn't really like as much because I just felt like he was just kind of doing it for the sake of it. And I understand that obviously serial killers have like minds that are very different from like ours when we don't have that kind of thought process and things. So it's very difficult to be inside the mind of a serial killer, which is why obviously serial killer documentaries and things are very popular because it's really interesting and fascinating to see. Well, this is me personally. It's very fascinating to see how the brain works and how different thought processes lead to different actions that you do in your life and things. But I think it just it just didn't really go into it fully, and I didn't really believe in what his thought process was to that. Um, but I did really like the fact that one of the people in foster care became the detective, and she was obviously always wary of him because what kind of animal was it he killed again? He killed an animal, and she had seen it, um, and he had just kind of, he had just done that, and she was like, "Who on earth can just kill an animal like that? Like that's not normal behavior," and that had kind of stuck with her that whole time. And then obviously when she was a detective, she pieced that together, and she was like, as soon as she heard his name, she was like, he must be involved, like he must have done it. it felt like that was the point, or it was meant to be vague and unjustifiable, but I don't know. I didn't vibe with it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, see, I normally enjoy serial killer stuff, but obviously not in books, as we have found out. Yeah, that part of it wasn't really the bit that I enjoyed the most. Like I said, that was the bit that felt a little bit flat for me. Just the whole serial killer like idea. I liked the bit when he was in his cells and he was talking about like the food and describing the food and like what his thoughts and things were and how he was kind of counting down and like the process and the different stages of that 12-hour period. So like when the chaplain and stuff came in, like I don't know how realistic that is in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the lethal injection. Um but it was quite fascinating because I've never read anything like that before, and I don't know if that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I enjoyed that process of finding that out and like kind of believing it, if you know what I mean. Was it not the dog? A fox. I don't remember if there was other animals too. I feel like there was more animals, but I feel like the detective, it was like a fox, or it was a smaller animal that he basically killed, and she had seen it, and it stuck with her. But what did we think of his relationship with the girlfriend? Was it Jenny? Um, I think, was her name Jenny? Um, and obviously there was a whole thing with the sister and how the sister walked in on him and her, and that was really weird. That bit really kind of put me off a little bit. I was like, I know that if I was in that situation and I walked in on my sister with her husband, I would not be like standing there staring. I'd be like, oh my god, like I'm so sorry. Like I would make it known that I'd seen it and be like, oh my god, and like run off. I wouldn't be just like sitting staring. I felt like the sister had like a weird thing going on. It was as if she kind of like fancied him a little bit and had a little bit of a thing for him. But obviously, as time went on, that really wasn't the case when she obviously discovered what type of person he was. But I feel like Jenny was like his true love. I got that kind of impression and vibe. And I was actually really surprised when he killed her. Um, I was really, really surprised by that because I thought she would have been the safest person. That was the kind of vibe that I was getting as we were going through the book. I felt like she was safer. Um, there was three animals he killed. One of them was a fox for sure. I think that's the one he put in her bed. Yeah. I mean, who does that normally? Like nobody does that normally, but they do say like from watching serial killer things that it does sort of start from like childhood and things, and it does start with smaller animals and then obviously they work their way up to like humans and things like that. Um yeah, I thought it was weird the sister was just watching them. That bit really sat funny with me. I was just like, there must be something with Hazel, I think the sister was called, for her to watch that. There must be something strange there going on. Um, but I also thought it was quite strange how, like, the bit when they were talking about her accident and she was in a cast and things and how she couldn't be a ballerina and things anymore, that was really bizarrely put into it. And I don't know if they just did that because it made her and Hazel different, even though they'd kind of been pitched together as similar, like when they have like the same outfit that they get at Christmas time and things. I felt like that was a really weird thing to like put into it. Um yeah, I didn't like Hazel's POV from the beginning. It was kind of like she fell in love with him too, but was scared of him, but also had weird feelings about her sister. It was just so weird. Yeah, the relationship that Hazel had and the thoughts and feelings that she had towards her sister, that she was always kind of like putting herself up against her sister, but it felt like she had a weird fascination also with her sister. It felt like her sister was kind of out living her life at university, and she was stuck at home with like a broken leg and she couldn't be a ballerina anymore, and she was kind of, it was kind of a bit like a pitiful sort of, well, my life could be like Jenny's but it's not, and now Jenny's got this boyfriend. And then there's the gift of the ring. And then Hazel obviously sees him digging in the garden that night, and he's obviously burying the box that has all the trophies from all the other victims that he's got. And Hazel obviously sees this at the window but doesn't say anything. Now, I know for a fact that if I had someone round, like my sister's partner or something, didn't really know them, it was the first time I met them, I would question why they were digging up my parents' garden. Like, there was a lot of things that kind of was left unanswered. Like, why was Hazel not imposing herself? Why was she not mentioning to her sister, for example, if she was as close to her sister as she like was made out that she was? Then why would you not mention, like, pull your sister to the side and be like, by the way, I saw him digging in the front garden. I don't know what it was that he was digging, but he was doing it really late in the middle of the night and hiding something. Yeah, it was so weird she never brought that up when she saw him digging in the middle of the night. I would have gone to see what it was at the very least. See, I would have even just waited until after they left, because they were obviously only there for Christmas. So, did she just live the rest of her life in that house, not wondering what was in that box? I would have went out after they left and dug that up to find out exactly what that was. There's no question about it. Yeah, I was like, why did she not even just ask him what he was doing, or ask if he sleepwalks at the very least? Yeah, it was strange that it just wasn't questioned. I felt like there was quite a few moments within that book that there was things that I would have questioned, and I know a lot of other people would have questioned, and it was just strange that it wasn't questioned in it. But I understand, obviously, that would have probably ruined the book if she had went downstairs and got that, and he wouldn't have been able to go on to kill Jenny. But it's just kind of, she didn't even feel like guilty, like when they were going through the court case and stuff. I would have felt guilty if I had known that there was stuff buried in that garden, because obviously she clicks and she's like, well, there's stuff buried in the garden, here you go, here's some evidence. I would have felt guilty that someone else had died, and I could have potentially stopped that if I'd known what was in that box. um it just, there was a few things I didn't vibe with, but I did really enjoy it. And it's weird because when we start talking about it and we're all kind of discussing it, I kind of start to think, did I really think that that was a 5 star? But I think I'm going to stay strong. I think I really felt for the characters, and I did like the build up to what it was. Um, how did everyone think of like the ending? Because obviously when you're reading this book, there was a small part of me that was like, is he actually is it going to go like is it going to go ahead? Is he actually going to be executed? As we're kind of as we're going through it, and as it was counting down, I was like, is there a potential that he's going to get away with this, that maybe he's not going to be put on death, like he's going to be taken off a death row, or it's just going to be taken away? Did anybody else get that kind of impression, or was that just me that just kind of thought, oh, it might change? But obviously the closer I was getting to the end and the time was going down, I was like, oh, he's obviously going to be executed. Lol, stay strong, don't let us bring you down. I will try. I will try. But yeah, what did everybody think of like the ending, and did you think that it was maybe going to be called off, or there was going to be something else? I just felt like there was going to be a twist or something like towards the end, but it just didn't seem to come. It was just kind of like, this is what the name of the book is. This is the countdown. This is the end. I thought he was going to manage to escape. I was really thinking that he was going to escape, and I feel like the author really made us believe that he was going to escape. Because there was that officer in the prison that had put keys apparently underneath the chair in the van. But I don't understand the point of that. Was it like she was giving him hope so that he had something to go with him, or because she seemed quite besotted with him, so it kind of gave me the impression that she did really want to help him, and she was risking her job by like like giving him notes and things like that. So why would you build up to that? It's like, did she build up to that and then decide like towards the end, oh, I can't let him get away, like I can't let him escape because of what he's done? But then there is this weird fascination, and you do see it on like documentaries, and you do hear about people that write to people in jail, and there's like this weird fascination that people seem to have with serial killers, and they'll write them letters, or they'll get married to them, and they've never met them before, but they know that they've done all these heinous crimes, and they know that they've murdered like all these people and things. And it's really bizarre how that that works. um so yeah, I thought they were going to live together somehow. I did think that they were probably going to end up together and there was going to be a relationship, but I felt like it was one-sided. I felt like the officer was more besotted with him than he was to her. I mean, in his eyes, he was like, well, she's going to help me escape. She's like my meal ticket to get out of here. I feel like he'd maybe buttered her up a little bit to make her believe that he was interested when I feel like he maybe wasn't. He obviously had a motive and a hidden agenda and to wanted to have like his escape, and he didn't want to be there anymore. She was into him and the plan until he pushed it too far just before it was happening. She saw who he really was and changed her mind, I think. Yeah, I can understand that because he does he's quite a strange, complex character, as most serial killers are, if you've watched documentaries and things. But I think it just seemed to be that he was very devoted to getting out and he was willing to do anything he could so that he could get out of it. And like I said, she was just basically the meal ticket that he could get out for it. Because she lived in denial that he was innocent, then he asked if she would still love him if he was guilty, and it ruined it for her. I mean, for him to be on death row, now I know that there is sometimes when people are on death row and people have been executed and things like that, and they maybe potentially haven't been guilty and they claim their innocence all the way through. There's probably hundreds of thousands of people that are in prison that have actually not committed a crime, but there was evidence linking them there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were. I can understand that to some degree, but he was quite forthcoming with doing it. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that he didn't do it. Like, the whole way through the book, I was like, this man has definitely done it. Like, he's a serial killer. He's done it many times. He's been doing it since birth. He didn't have a great upbringing. He kind of went into his childhood killing animals and things. It was inevitable that that was what was going to happen. And that is basically what he became. He became a monster, which is kind of hilarious because he viewed the man his mother was with as a monster. And then he basically just progressively turned into a worse man than the man that was mistreating his mother. It's it's funny that that kind of is how it turned round and played out, but he basically became a bigger and badder monster. And he was so against that man and like what he did, but he just became 10 times worse. Um, he didn't care about her at all. He was just using her to escape. He thinks he's not going to stay with her. Exactly. It was just, she was there. He thought he could escape. I don't know what he thought he was going to do when he escaped, though. I mean, he's a serial killer. He's not going to get far. He's not going to be able to get a passport. He's not going to be able to travel. So he's basically going to be stuck. He's not going to be able to get a car. He's going to have to continuously commit crimes whilst he's out of prison. And it's only a matter of time before that's going to catch up with him. And then he's going to end up being arrested again. And then what was that for? He'll still end up back on death row. Does he think that he's going to escape from prison and then that'll be it? That'll, like he'll just live his life happily in the hills somewhere. No one will know. He'll go live in the mountains. It'll be fine. That's not going to happen. There's going to be wanted posters out there. It's going to be all over the news, the media, everywhere, like Twitter, everywhere. It is going to be put, like his face is going to be everywhere. There's no way he's going to be able to hide unless he gets some sort of facial reconstruction. That man is not going to be able to hide. Yeah, I think the book was painting her as one of those people that's delusional about killers and thinks she can save him, which I don't understand, but it does exist. It is really bizarre, and you see it time and time again of like these women who basically throw themselves at like serial killers and things, and it's kind of like they're totally blindsided by like the terror and stuff that they did. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, I don't know if many of you know, I'd imagine you probably do, but Jeffrey Dahmer had so many women that were after him and interested in him and writing him letters like every single day and things, and were just totally besotted by him. And it's like, how can you, for starters, be besotted with someone that literally did the crimes that he committed, and also his sexual preference is totally different to the female variety? um or so we've been made to believe because of his interviews and things like that. That's not me assuming what his sexual orientation was. It was obviously things that he said and the type of men that he went for and things. How can you then become committed to just wanting to live your life with that person is very, very bizarre. I think he was just desperate not to die. Even if he's caught immediately, it still delays the death dates, sometimes by years. Um, yeah, I suppose, because then you've got to be booked back into the system, and I suppose it buys him more time. But is it really a life sitting in a cell, just kind of counting down your days? I don't know. Obviously, I've never been in that situation before where we've been like that, so I don't know if it would be better or you're just prolonging and making it a more painful experience for yourself. But I just feel like he didn't feel like guilt or anything like that. I see on some documentaries regarding serial killers that when it comes closer to the end, I actually watched an Eileen Warnes one yesterday, and she was on death row, and she, near the end, basically found Christianity and started becoming religious, and she was quite, it came across as quite sincere. I don't know obviously how sincere it was, but she felt really bad for the victims' families, and she apologized because she was like, that's people that you've loved that I've taken away from you and ruined their lives and taken them away. And you know, she kind of found that solace and apologized and felt the guilt and things. But I feel like Ansel just didn't really give that vibe at all. It was just kind of like, yeah, I did it. It's what happened. Like, I had a shit childhood, so what do you expect? That's kind of just what happened. Um, it just kind of gave off an attitude of I don't really care. I am where I am, but I don't want to be here because I don't feel like I deserve to be punished. But obviously, he did deserve to be punished because he was a serial killer. It's not like he just did it once. He did it multiple times. How does everybody feel about, like, this is probably off topic because I feel like I loved the book and we're obviously discussing it, but you guys weren't as big a fan of the book at all. What do we think of things like the death penalty and things? Is that something that you feel is like fair in the system? Because I think the death penalty still happens in the US. Obviously, it doesn't happen in the UK, but is that something that you think should be reintroduced? Do you think people should be on the death penalty, or do you think people should just kind of live their days in the system? Yeah, he didn't care about those girls, only himself. Yeah, I think that's what made it difficult to relate to him, because he didn't feel guilt and he didn't really have the thoughts and feelings of feeling bad for them. And even when he killed Jenny, it didn't even, like, this is somebody that he loved and he adored, and it was his person, and he still didn't really care that he had done that. Like, I mean, he broke into her house and everything, and it was just kind of like, he he like slammed down the door, so that's to obviously incite fear. So he knew what he was doing when he was going in there. He wasn't going in there to chat to her and like to have her in his life or anything like that. Like, it was kind of like he had decided that before he'd went in there. The death penalty is complicated. I think with the justice system we have now, it's not ethical, but the whole system is fucked. So yeah, it's quite difficult. It is a topic that is quite strange to kind of think about, because you got to kind of think about it as well from if you had someone that was in your family who was on death row, like, how would you feel? Because obviously that's someone's dad, that's someone's mom, that's someone's sister, auntie, uncle, brother, sister. It is hard to kind of think how you would feel if that was your family member. And obviously when it comes to these type of events and people have been murdered and terrible things have happened, that person that committed that is also a family member, and there's also emotions attached to that person as well. Even though they have willingly went and done what they've done, there's still a connection and a family there that are hurt by what they've done. They've got to live with the guilt of the fact that that was their son or like their brother. Like, their lives are inevitably ruined by that person also. And also the media lashback and things like that as well that they would have in this day and age, like being hounded by the press and things just because of an action that they haven't actually committed. So it's very difficult because obviously when a crime like that is committed, there's so many people that are affected by it. It's not just the person that obviously loses their life, but it's horrible that these crimes are committed. But it's difficult to kind of think what is like a good amount of time for someone to serve in prison. Like I get annoyed sometimes when I'm watching crime documentaries and they do really awful things with murder and things like that, and they get like 22 years, and but they say it's life, and some of these people are in their early 20s and stuff, so they're out by the time they're 40. So how is that life? You've only taken 20 years out of them to sit in a cell. And I mean, I don't know what cells and things are like, but I think they've got plenty of things that they can do, and they're still living their life, but obviously it is in a small space and it is very restricted because obviously you're in prison, and it just feels a bit like it's a place where you go to be grounded for some time and then you're not allowed to go out and play. You've just basically got to stay in here and get told what to do. It kind of is like a grown-up way of grounding someone when they've done something wrong. But yeah, I think it's really difficult to kind of sit and work out what the cost of someone's life is and kind of put that into like a sentence. That's what I mean by the whole justice system being messed up. Some people do horrible crimes and get out in 10 to 20 years. Back in the world at 40, and have they really changed? No way to know. That's the thing though. Someone can sit and say, oh yeah, I've changed, I found Christianity, or I found religion, or I've had so much time with my thoughts and I'm really sorry. And there is something in that people, if they have good behavior when they're in prison and things, like their sentences can be shortened. So you're going to go down avenues to make yourself look better so that you do get less time, because who wants to be in prison? So you are going to do all the things that you're supposed to do by the book. So everything that you're saying, I don't know how you can believe it and feed into it, because they're saying it to have good behavior so they can get out. They want to get out and live their lives again. That doesn't mean that you've changed as a person. Don't get me wrong, there is people out there, these things happen, there's heat of the moments, like you do see it on documentaries and things, there's heat of the moments and they just do it and they panic and they don't know what to do and they go to prison because obviously they've committed a crime, and they spend their time in prison and then they come out and they felt guilty the whole time. They feel guilty as soon as they've done it. I'm not justifying that and saying that that's okay, but there is people out there that genuinely do make mistakes, or unfortunately are in the wrong place at the wrong time and get involved in something that they potentially would not have got involved in if it hadn't been for a certain set of circumstances, and that's where they've ended up. In Peterhead, it's apparently not too bad, and people who come to Cornhill beg to go back because it's worse than prison. Oh me. I think in prison, I think they've got it set up quite nicely. I think they've got TVs and things like that. They've got different sports. They probably live a more luxurious, leisurely life than we do. They don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about how much it costs to heat your house. Like, they don't have it that bad. And it feels like when people go to prison these days, there's so many luxuries and things, and it's not like it was back in the day when you were literally in a little cell, you've got a toilet, there's nothing for you to do apart from like sit with your thoughts. I feel like it's been glamorized and everything too much because people have human rights and things, and obviously you've got to have certain things, you've got to have heating, things like that. You can't be, and it's weird to think that someone that can commit really heinous crimes are still having their basic human rights looked after. It just seems a bit bizarre to me. I understand why it happens, but it seems bizarre that you would just hand everything over to someone that's done wrong, and then you have all of us out here working our asses off and try to pay all of our bills and things, and we're not getting that same thing, and we've not committed crimes. It's still not a good experience though, and it's still a punishment. No one enjoys prison. Of course no one enjoys prison, but I think obviously we're human beings, we want our freedom. When freedom's taken away from us, it's really frustrating, And it's like for the lockdown, for example, when we were all told we couldn't leave our houses, what's the one thing that we all really want to do? We all wanted to leave our houses. We all wanted to go outside. We didn't want to be stuck inside all of the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, when the lockdown first came along and it was like, you need to stay in your house for 3 weeks, I was like, I was born for this. I can just sit and read books and it'll be fine. But when someone is taken away from you, the want for that is obviously really high. But I just feel like there maybe should be better things in place for people that do commit really terrible crimes. I'm not meaning like petty crimes. I'm talking about like serial killers and lots of other things that we're not going to get into. But I feel like they should have better penalties that come along with it. And I think the justice system is just so, it must be so difficult to kind of gauge and figure it out. And like the jobs of judges and things, it must be very hard to gauge what someone's life is worth. Is what, in a roundabout, really long way, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think book wise, because obviously we're talking about the book, I think I enjoyed it for all the reasons you guys hate it, which is fine. We all obviously have different tastes and things, and I love hearing your opinion. And it does make me think more about the book when you guys are like, well, I didn't vibe with it. I didn't like this bit. I didn't like this bit. And obviously there is bits of the book that I didn't like either. But I thought it was a good little book. I read it quite quickly as well. But you know, it is what it is. That's what book club is for. There is a different level of prison though. The justice system is very complicated and really needs a full overhaul, but it's never going to happen. I mean, it's very difficult as well because obviously it's like government. Is it government funding when it comes to prisons? I think generally it is. I could be completely wrong here, but I think generally it's like government funding and things. So it is quite difficult to obviously spend money and prioritize and rework things that kind of the system is kind of working, not for the people that are devastated by the crimes. I feel like it kind of works for the people that do the crimes. I'm glad you enjoyed it. At least it was the opposite for me. To me, just read, it was so hard. Yeah, I think it would be boring if we all agreed on what we read. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. It's just so strange because we've all read books together. We've all generally had like similar opinions and didn't like a lot of things of them. And this is my first 5-star since we've done book club, I think, if I remember correctly. Can't remember. How many books have we read now? Is it 3? I think it's 3. And then obviously this month we're taking a break because I just thought December's such a busy month that it just makes more sense that we just take the month off and then we start fresh in January. Probably do that next year as well if the book club's still running, which I hope it is. I just thought it would be so much better to just have December to just read what we want to read, do what we need to do, and then just join back on in January and see how we're all feeling. I actually have a few ideas for January. There's a book that Daniel has wanted me to read for ages, and I think the only way I'm going to read this book, because I'm so against it, because there's one part in it that I just really don't want to read. He's read it and said I'll absolutely love it, but there's just this one, like, it's like 2 pages or something in the book that I'm just not going to like. So I've just put off and put off and put off, and I thought if I make it a book club pick, then I will actually read it. But I don't know if you guys have read it or not yet, and it is a little bit longer because we've been reading quite short books. I mean, I don't even know how much this was. Physically, yeah, just over the 300-page mark. We seem to be in the 300-page mark. Our Wives Under the Sea, How High in the Dark We Go in the Dark, and this one. We also read Turn of the Key, so it's our 4th one. I can't believe we've been doing this for 4 months. That's amazing. That's fair. I have a lot to catch up on. So yeah, the book that Daniel really wants me to read, but I don't know if I'm actually going to read it or not, is Kafka on the Shore. Has everybody read that one? I can't remember how many pages it is. I feel like that one is a little bit longer. Let me just have a little look. But I think it's like classed as a classic, possibly, maybe not. 467 pages. I don't know how everyone would feel about reading a book at 464 odd pages. Oh yes, Turn the Key, forgot about that one. I've not read it, I don't think. What was the title? Kafka on the Shore. By Haruko Murakami. I've probably just absolutely annihilated that name. I've got this version of it, I think. What it says is Kafka on the Shore is powered by two remarkable characters, a teenage boy, Kafka Tamura, who runs away from home either to escape a gruesome prophecy or to search for his long missing mother and sister, an aging simpleton called Nakata, who never recovered from a wartime affliction and is now drawn towards Kafka for reasons that, like the most basic activities of daily life, he cannot fathom. As their paths converge and the reasons for that convergence become clear, Haruka Murakami enfolds readers in a world where cats talk, fish fall from the sky, and spirits slip out of their bodies to make love or commit murder. Kafka on the Shore displays one of the world's greatest storytellers at the peak of his powers. Yeah, I've not read it. I've not heard of it, but sounds interesting. It does sound really good. If you want to know what part of it, it's literally like 2 pages, but if you want to know, it's actually a trigger for me, and it's the only trigger that I have. And if you want to know what it is, we can talk about it on Discord. And if you don't want to know, then I obviously won't talk about it. But it's not really bad, it's just something that I'm just really not good with. And that's why I'm kind of against it, but it's literally like 2 pages. But Daniel says it's a really good book. So I was thinking about possibly reading that one in January, but I'm not sure how everybody feels about that. We do read some of the strangest books with like talking pigs or talking cats, flying fish. Yeah, it sounds good. I kind of want to know what it is. Yeah, no, that's fine. If we all want to know what it is, then I can pop it in the Discord and I can say what it is. But how would everyone feel about January if we read that one potentially? I'm just kind of talking about it now, so if everyone doesn't have it, we can get access from it from the library or from Audible if there's a queue or anything like that. We read books I wouldn't have read otherwise. I'm kind of exactly the same. Like, it's either books that I've had on my shelf for a while or books that I've heard a few people talking about, but not like a huge amount. I kind of like that we're not doing like mainstream like books. Like, it's not things like, I think Notes on an Execution was a Waterstones book, not last year but the year before. You know how they do like monthly books, I think it was one of them, but I mean it was a couple of years ago. We're not reading stuff that literally just came out. I'm happy to know as well. I will pop it in the Discord. Yeah, that's fine by me. I'm happy to read it. Steph, you need to pick February, please. We will get you to pick something for us to read in February, but I just wanted to put out that that's what I kind of fancied starting the year with. And also, please always put in the Discord if there is recommendations or books that you really want to read and you've had on your shelf for a while. And we will obviously slot them in because we've got 12 months next year to pick books. And like I said, I want you guys involved and I want you to put suggestions and books and things forward so that we can read it. So yeah, I don't know when the live show would be for Kafka, but I am planning on starting the Hunger Games. Don't know if anyone's still wanting to partake in that. I know that we were talking about it last time, my library has the audiobook available mid-Jan. Perfect. Great. I'm glad that I've kind of mentioned it because I did feel like it might be a popular sort of one and it might be a bit more difficult to get a hold of. So that's cool. I'd imagine most libraries have it. I think my library has the audiobook. So fingers crossed, Steph, if you use a library app that your one has it. But yeah, the live show will probably be, I'd imagine, the beginning of February. But are you still wanting to do the Hunger Games? I'm currently doing the Wayward Pine series, but I'm literally on the last book, and I'm also almost finished it. I don't know how you feel about Twilight, but I also want to do a Twilight read along next year because I've only read the first two when I was a teenager, and I recently have been picking them up from charity shops and I've got them all now and I really want to read them. I'm happy to do the Hunger Games read along still. I'm hoping I'm probably not going to be able to get all of them in this year, but I'm hopefully going to read the first one this month. So I'm going to get the Wayward Pine series out of the way. Then I think I'm going to pick up the first Hunger Games and get that read so that I'm almost up to date. Yeah, I've been meaning to pick up Hunger Games again, and even though I've marked the prequel as currently reading, I've read nothing of it so far. Oh, not read Twilight for ages. Lol, I only read the first Twilight book when I was a teenager. I don't know about that one. I think it's, as an adult, I think it's going to be really cringy. And I'll probably only read the first one and be like, yeah, no, I'm out. But I've been getting them and they've only been like 50p or a pound to like buy them, so it's not like a huge loss, but I kind of want to read them more for a nostalgic type thing to see how it was. But Hunger Games, I can't remember if I said before, but I've never read them before and I've never watched the film either. So I'm really excited to read them, and I think I'm gonna read one and then read the books. So if you've read the books and you've watched the films, are they kind of like the first book is the first film and the second book is the second film and things like that, or is there quite a lot of crossover? I'm not really sure because I don't want to watch the first one and then something happens in the first one that happens in the second book and then I'm kind of spoiled, or should I just read them all and then wait and see how it is? I think I still need to get the fourth book, The Ballad of Songbirds. Is that what it's called? I still need to get that one. I've got the first three. I've got quite a few copies of the Hunger Games actually. But I'm probably going to read them on my Kindle because I have not read a physical book in months. I've literally only been reading my Kindle, just because it's a lot comfier to hold. Yeah, from what I remember, it's book one is film one. There's a little crossover. I definitely remember something in the second book happening in the first film. Okay, I think what I might do is I might just read them first. Steph, will you be listening to them on audio, the Hunger Games ones? Are you reading them? Sorry, I almost lost my voice there. Are you reading them physically? But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of really bad. I'll start a series and then I'll just kind of binge it. But I can do separate channels for the Hunger Games. Yeah, that's the prequel, but it's apparently best to read it last. Okay, that's fine, because I wasn't sure if I had to read that one first or not. But I don't know if it would really ruin your experience. Okay, that's fair enough. I feel like if I binge all the books, I'll probably sit and binge all the films as well. And I know Daniel really wants to reread The Hunger Games as well. And he wants to watch the films, and he can't believe that I've not read them. Possibly reading them physically on my Kindle, although I have the physical books. Yeah, I've just turned into a total Kindle girly recently. I've had my Kindle for ages, and I seem to go through like phases where I'll just only read my Kindle, and then other times I'll only read books and I won't even look at my Kindle and it won't even see the light of day. And then one day I'll just be like, I'll just pick up my Kindle. But recently it's just been all about the Kindle. So I'm just constantly reading on that. I read so much quicker on the Kindle as well. I feel like a physical book takes me ages. And if I had read this physically, I might have had a different experience with this book because I think because the font's so small, and I also don't really like the page layouts that much, I think I would have got annoyed by it and struggled to read it. It's quite funny how the words are the same, but the layout is different, so that would ruin my reading experience for it, because small writing in a book, it makes my head hurt, and I feel like I can't read it, like I can't devour stuff if it makes my head hurt. I'm the same with my Kindle, just find Audible easier at times, especially for book club books. Yeah, no, that's totally fair enough. I'm really rubbish at listening to audiobooks when I've not read the physical book, or it's fantasy, or it's got a lot of like world building and things. I'm just rubbish. I'm still pretty new to audiobooks, but I don't really have a lot of times where I'll listen to an audiobook. I used to, in my old job, I used to sit and listen to audiobooks whilst I was working, but I can't do that in my new job. So when I'm on the bus going to work, I'm physically reading on my Kindle, and it's so easy to just pull my Kindle out of my bag. So I'm not even listening to audiobooks when I'm traveling, because I'm only on the bus for like 15-20 minutes, which I know is like 40 minutes a day to listen to an audiobook, but I just feel like I wouldn't be too excited by it. But I think we're gonna wrap this up because I'm now just rambling. But what I'll do is I'll post that in the Discord. I'll do it just now actually, to let you know what it is that's in Kafka. Like I said, it's only like a couple of pages. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I've just posted something. You can imagine what it is, and you can understand why that is a trigger for me, and it makes me incredibly sad. I listen when I'm writing uni notes, which can take all day. That's fair enough, and that makes sense. And that's just like dead time, basically, isn't it, when you're doing things like that? So that's like the perfect audiobook listening time. That's probably why you power through audiobooks. Understandable. Yeah, it's something that's just I can't. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder a couple of years ago, and all my friends and things were like, "Oh, you should read it. You'll really like it. It's a really good book." And my cat had passed away not long before that, and there's a part in that book that I was just like, I can't believe you guys made me read that when that happens. Obviously, don't want to go into anything about it, but you can obviously imagine a small part of it. But yeah, I was really sad, and then discovered that it was a trigger for me. And it's like I've read some weird things. I've read like The Haunting Adeline. That's a whole thing. So triggers aren't a huge thing for me, but that is for me. Yeah, it makes sense why I get through them quickly, especially when it's boring stuff to write. That makes total sense. But yeah, okay, that's cool. Makes sense. I'm glad that we had a mixed opinion about this one. I'm also glad that we've got next month's pick sorted as well, and everyone seems to be quite excited about it. I'm gonna try and be a bit more active on Discord because I'm terrible at replying on Discord, so I'm gonna try and be a bit more active and get more chats and see how everyone's doing. And I will set up the Hunger Games Discord channels as well for us so that we can start discussing them and talking about when we're reading them and things. But like I said, I'm gonna finish the Wayward Pines series, which I'm reading just now. I've only got 2 hours or something left of that, so I'll probably pick up the Hunger Games, the first one after that. So I'll have that started this week. I'm not sure how long it will take me to read it, but we'll just have to wait and see. See you both next time if you don't speak in the Discord before then. I'm rubbish with Discord as well. I just always forget about Discord and I don't get notifications properly, so I'm gonna have to change the notifications so that I get them instead of physically going into the app, because that's why I tend to miss things. But it was lovely speaking to you both, and I'm glad that you're both doing well, and I will speak to you in the Discord. But I hope you all have a lovely festive season, no matter what you're doing during that time. But I will see you all next time and speak to you soon. Bye.